Hey everybody, a quick trigger warning for everyone. There is a scene with a bomb and an explosion in this episode, and I know that we're all dealing with a lot right now in the world, so I just wanted to give everyone a heads up. Thank you.
Welcome to Crescent City with your hosts Natalie Jean and Jackie Zabrowski.
Sometimes I like to hoof about the town. Sometimes I like to take my hooves on a walk.
It's the human thumb sticking out is really disturbing.
What are you talking about? I'm a shapeshifter, so I'm partially humanoid, Natalie.
So you have all hoof hands, but the top of your
all
thumb.
thumbs, which actually isn't that all of the best about being a human and a hoofster?
Opposable thumbs.
Yeah, so you've got
Yeah.
thumbs, you've got the hooves so that my paws don't hurt when I walk on the hot cement. Although I don't know if a fawn shapeshifter does do that.
I don't think so.
Maybe they wait until they're on grass so that their thumbs don't get warm.
But is she a shifter or just a I don't think she's a shifter.
She's not a shifter, she's just a fawn.
Yeah.
But then why, I guess, my brain, she is humanoid fawn.
Yes.
So she never can shift into a full fawn?
No, because it's spelled F-A-U-N, which is its own creature.
Like a fawn.
Yes. Not a fawn, like a, I guess, is that how it's spelled too for babies?
I think that's infant.
Wait, no. No, a fawn is called,
I get it, babies.
a fawn baby.
I'm not calling, I call them little bitches is what I call them.
A deer fawn is spelled F-A-W-N.
W-N.
This is a
A
faun.
Okay,
which
I'm one.
is-
I'm one of the class of lustful rural gods, represented as a man with a goat's horn, ears, and legs and tail. How dare you, dictionary?
Well, what I've read is that a satyr and a faun sort of became confused with one another in mythology.
We were
But-
talking about that with Mr. Tumnus a couple episodes ago.
We were. And we now kind of perceive fawns to be gentle, sweet, frolicking creatures.
Fawns are usually, quote, shy woodland creatures rather than the drunk and bolsterous satyrs of the classical Greeks.
Yes.
Is what the internet says. And I feel like that's very judgmental against me and my kind, but I guess I will take it.
Yeah. Well, I think you don't shift. I think you are always just half human, half goat.
That means I can't sing My Hooves Will Come Out Tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that my hooves will come on out. I'm also making Annie jokes
You are,
because
'cause
I
you
do
look-
have
You've an Annie wig
an
on.
Annie wig on, even though it's not red, but I'm feeling a little, I guess I'm more, it's a good ship. Lollipop.
You do. It is a little Shirley Temple-esque.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Except for the
yeah.
hooves.
Yeah, they didn't make her do that one thing. She had to do a lot. Shirley Temple actually kind of made it out okay. Of all the child
She was
actors.
taking uppers and downers though, right? Was she taking
No.
sidewinders?
No, she managed to be like pretty level-headed, and she became an ambassador, I think, at one point. As an adult.
Whoa.
But one of the only child actors who wasn't just run through. I don't know how or why.
Good for her.
I wish we could
Hopefully-
ask her.
Yeah, I guess, seance though. If you want to do a seance and bring her back. I was like, where is she?
I hope she's okay. My grandma was obsessed with her and would dress me like her all the time and made me get a perm as a child.
I feel like this is trauma that we need to unpack.
I
Natalie.
feel bad for my grandmother because I did not look like Shirley Temple and was not really super cute at that age.
You know who I identified
Curly
with?
Sue!
Curly Sue. I loved the movie. I think if anything, I am definitely
You
giving
are-
Curly Sue more
I
than
actually
anything.
feel like you should be her for Halloween.
For Halloween, and then I make Jeff be Jim Belushi. I'll be like, please, Jeff, please,
And
be
then-
my crotchety new daddy.
Yeah, and you have to call him Dad and Daddy all night.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, Dad, but I have to say it with a tood because Curly Sue had a tood.
Oh, she was a street She was a street
rat.
orphan.
Go ahead, say it, street rat. You know you wanted to say street rat. She was a street rat.
I was trying to remember the other word, ragamuffin.
Oh yeah, ragamuffin. You know, like what they used to have the ragamuffin parade.
Oh,
which
remember
is a real thing.
Remember we talked about it on page 7.
Oh yeah, and they would just parade. It used to be Ragamuffin Day, and they would parade those creepy kids in their creepy old school Halloween costumes about the town. But not Curly Sue. She ain't got no costume, and that's why she's so upset.
Well, that's not why we're here today.
No, we're not talking about all the many characters that happen to have curly hair that I feel like I am.
Oh my God, what happened to your hooves? They're gone.
I have to use the computer. Maybe she is a shifter. I have to use the computer. I was sitting here trying to use my hooves to use my the notepad. What is this? Mouse pad. Pad.
They need to make hoof safe.
Hoof accessibility. I am upset that I cannot use my laptop. And you know what? I don't shift, you fucking Mac laptop, all right? What do I need, a PC? Maybe I can use my hooves on a PC.
I don't think so.
No, probably not. I think it would be difficult.
Can you tell who I am?
Yes, you are an angel. You are Shafar. Shar.
Yes, I'm Shahar.
Shar. I did say Shafar like Jafar, though, which is... I'm just saying, SJM, if you want to change it to Shafar so that everyone thinks Jafar, I wouldn't be upset.
I keep...
You're the sexy one, though. You're the sexier of the twins.
Thank you!
Yeah.
Thank you. I keep accidentally typing Bruce when I'm writing Bryce, and I feel like a gender-bent Bryce needs to happen.
Ooh, okay. I hear you loud and clear, Natalie, and I can provide that for you.
Yes! Ha ha! Okay, I also needed to top this off by saying I lost. I found an interview where SJM says Lunathion is based on a bunch of cities, and it does not list Philadelphia as one of them.
Oh my God, does that hurt your spirit?
No, because in my denialism, it still is Philadelphia.
Okay, that's great. So here in this world that you are now listening to, yes, in Natalie's headcanon, which we are all trapped inside of, it is definitely Philly. So just go with it.
Yeah. I'm sure also at this point when this episode is released, I've been sent like 100 times that video being like, it's not Philly, idiot. But now I'm just...
anyone would call you an idiot, Natalie.
Yeah, no one ever calls
I think
me an
it's
idiot.
nice that you were supposing, and isn't that what a researcher is supposed to do?
Oh, the power of imaginations.
Yeah. So you're welcome to everybody for giving you the gift of maybe Lunathion is based off of Philly.
Yep, it is here in this room.
See, it's all perspective, guys. It's all in how you say it to yourself so that you make yourself feel the best about all of your choices. Denial ain't just a river in what? Won't even say the country.
Why?
I don't know. I guess it was like because it was I was making a joke about denying it. And
oh,
then it was,
you were denying.
Yeah, and
that
then it didn't work. And sometimes, guys, you miss 100% of the chances you don't take.
Sometimes take.
And you gotta roll with it, even if it sometimes doesn't make any sense.
And you guys have to listen to it because we're talking into microphones.
Bitch with one hoof, bitch with one hoof. What is she to do? She's a bitch with one hoof.
That would be a little bit inconvenient, but...
Yeah, I guess I'd just wobble around the town and then my other legs would be stronger.
You could dig with the one side.
Oh, I can always dig. You give me one hoof and I'll dig all the way through the earth.
Do you think Jeff would want to try a hoof job?
You know what? Shockingly, no. But I think it's just because...
It's got a gap.
It does have a gap, and I could, use it in between, my lobster claws, and that's for sure. I could definitely do something with that. I think it's more, if it's fabric hooves, I think it's one thing. I think hooves might be a different thing altogether.
Might be painful.
Yeah, it might be painful. And I guess you can lube it up. There's got to be hoof lube out there.
Hoof lube. If not, let's produce some.
I guess there's one way to make it happen, guys. Hoof lube. All right, I guess I'm ready to talk about what's happening in the show. I
started this by writing Micah motorcycle, turn the key and watch him be an asshole.
Wow. See, I out the gate, hitting him out of the park, Natalie.
So we just learned alongside Bryce that the angel that evening...
It's just weird that you said that because the other day Jeff used this phrase, I'm trying to remember it correctly. It's like, yeah, and if my grandmother had wheels, she'd be a bicycle. And he said that as if, it's an old-timey phrase, and I was like, what did you just say? And I really like it of like, yeah, that could happen, but also, yeah, like if my grandmother had wheels, she'd be a bicycle.
Yeah, I guess I've never heard that.
Yeah, it really, I
But it does
love
make me think.
old-timey phrases, though.
Yeah, I do too. It does make me think of the Wayne's World scene where she says, "Yeah, if a frog had wings, it wouldn't bump its ass while it walked." And then Wayne asks her where she learned English, and she said, "College and the Police Academy movies."
Natalie!
All right, now we're back to Lunathian. And we just learned in the last episode, in the last scene, that Bryce, we learned alongside Bryce, that the angel that evening that she saved was Micah, the archangel. She had no idea. Remember the Crystallos was ripping that one angel apart, right? And she just thought it was some random angel.
You'd think they'd be a little bit nicer to her for saving an archangel's life, wouldn't you?
Well, no, because they didn't want her to know. He didn't want her.
She knows now.
Yeah, she Hunt's like a little bit like, oh no, did I just cause myself great troubles?
Yeah, because of course they don't want anyone to know that they actually could be hurt.
Right. So Bryce is shocked, and beyond that, she's angry that they kept this from her. She demands to know why, and Hunt informs her that it was primarily because Micah didn't want to be seen as vulnerable. And
Makes sense. Ugh, makes sense. An archangel man being an archangel man, I guess.
toxic.
Not like this beautiful Shahar over here.
Oh, thank you.
She would never.
Well, she's dead.
She only leads the rebellion, but she had to die to lead the rebellion.
She had to die. So basically he describes that he didn't want to be seen as needing to be saved by a, quote, half-breed. Bryce challenges Hunt with that word. So Hunt doesn't say that word, but Bryce is like, oh, he doesn't want to be seen being saved by a gross half-breed, huh? And Hunt tells her that his team never uses that word because it's a slanderous slur, and he's like basically saying to her, that's not how we talk.
Which also, sidebar, slip. Really, really cute. It gives you a little tiny insight into Hunt and how he does care about what other people think. And it's actually really fucking cute.
Yes, it gives us little hints into like him being maybe not a monster because he has a lot of things on the side of monster. You know what I mean? Like he has to kill people and stuff all the time.
But he's got beige flags in there. I'm seeing him.
Yeah, he's
I
got
like
beige
him.
flags.
I actually got into an argument this morning with my forever best friend because she read this first book and she's like, I understand what you like what you would like about Hunt Athalar. I just don't think he's my kind of guy. And I'm like, but we're best friends. What do you mean? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, what do you mean? She's like, I just feel like he's too aggro. Like, it's not my type. I'm more of a Cassian. I was like, I mean, yeah, I'm also more of a Cassian, but like, why do we have to choose either or?
I can see her not choosing Hunt, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Too aggressive, too much of the alpha hole that Bryce talks about.
Right.
But then if you keep reading, Madeline, yes, I'm yelling at you through the podcast that you're probably going to listen to, that you should keep reading.
She is going to, right?
She's going to. Yeah. She just got lost in the other smut things because she started reading smut around the time when we started reading smut.
I didn't actually know that she was.
Dude, she's like far into it now. And she's like, I know, but like, I enjoyed it so much. I'm like on the smut train. And I get it.
Love
I get
that
it.
for her.
I get it.
So Hunt says they don't speak like that, but you know, the writing's on the wall. That's how Micah feels, and he was attempting to avoid, quote, embarrassment about being saved in that way.
You're fucking welcome, Micah.
Yeah, and they engage in an argument after that. Bryce is furious that she was kept from this information, and Hunt sort of mocks her by suggesting she wants, oh, do you want to medal for your actions? Like, why do you care? This disgusts Bryce, who just really wanted to know if the angel survived. As they argue, Hunt lets it slip that Bryce is on his personal suspect list, and Bryce understandably explodes.
Yeah. Don't worry, guys. I figured out a way to get 2 of my human fingers out of the hole so I can keep my hoove on and be able to scroll on my computer. So in case you guys were worried.
I was, but this is
I didn't wanna
also
get out of
kind of
character.
more upsetting. in a
Oh,
way.
with the 2 human fingers is more upsetting?
Yeah, like it's like ripping out. Like, help me, help me.
Let me be a human, please. That's my fingers being worms,
Aw.
begging for help.
That's cute. So he tries to tell her that he doesn't feel that way anymore because she had that shocked reaction at seeing the body at the crime
Right.
scene they were just at, and she almost fainted. And he's like, I don't believe that anymore. And it's like, you know what? It's a little too little, too late,
Mhm.
Hunt. Okay. She tells him to, quote, get the fuck out of her sight. He seems to realize that he's pushed her too far, and though he can't really fully leave her alone because of his duties, he launches into the sky, leaving her reeling and distressed.
God, that would really help out, like, when you're having an argument with someone, if they could just be able to, like, fly away for a little
Oh,
bit.
could you
If you
imagine?
can just fly somewhere else just for, like, 5 minutes so I can have a moment and I
Ugh.
don't have to look at you for a second.
I wish.
Right? Just fly up to the top of another building. Let me have my Batman moment.
And stew.
Yeah, I've got to stare. I've got to brood.
Yeah, you
I
got
don't-
brood.
I feel like I can't properly brood without being able to fly.
Yeah, but that you can't. If you're not sitting on an eave, how are you supposed to fully brood?
Yeah, I'm supposed to gargoyle out. What the hell else am I supposed to do?
Oh God, I wish.
And this is it coming from a woman that is sitting here with a tail on that nobody can see just
well,
to
stand up
be in
and show
character.
'em.
Should I see? You guys got to see how
She is
much I
wearing
look like a
full
deer.
tail in a chair. Wait, why? are you-
I'm quacking like a duck, but
Why?
I just want everyone because I don't know who's feeling it.
Oh, I guess because. Well, she's not actually. She's a fawn is not a deer. It's a goat. So you can make goat sounds.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess this is all very. Is this upsetting to the fawn community?
Which kind of fawn?
Fawns. I guess this is not upsetting to the fawn community, but it is upsetting to the
Fawn
fawn
community.
community, and I really apologize to everyone.
You need to make goat sounds.
I know.
There you go.
Give me a can. Give me a can. I'm a goat.
No, it's a little Kathy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, a little
Little
I
ack,
need
ack, ack.
caffeine. Well, I do have my caffeine here, and it is difficult to pick up with my hooves, but I'll do anything to stay in character.
So much like when Jenny bailed on Forrest, Bryce begins to run.
Whoa, free bird.
She just goes. And though I personally hate running, I get the feeling of just wanting to walk and walk and walk.
Yes,
I've definitely done that in my lifetime
Yes.
when I'm just trying to like deal with things.
Yeah, I don't run anywhere, but I did that for like a year in New York where I decided I was just too sad to even ride the subway, and I literally would leave everywhere no matter where I was walking. If I had to walk across bridges, I would just plug in my little iPod and I just would walk for hours.
Samesies. Actually, all through Philly, I did that back to
Thank you,
Crescent City.
Philly, and thank you, Lunathian, and thank you, New York City.
She doesn't know where she's going, and yet we find her in front of the White Raven. The view of it sends her into her trauma compulsion of looking at her last text with Danica.
Oh, girl.
Her memories wash over her, and then we're back with the memory of whatever occurred between her and Danica that popped into her memory when she recalled killing someone. So we've gotten this little burst of this memory in the past where something happened whenever she was asked if she'd ever killed anybody, and she said yes. She had this like flashback to this memory that we don't
Yeah.
really know anything about yet. But this time we get a tiny bit more context in her memory. This occurred during their final semester in college, and there's some kind of serious business going down. Though we don't know where we are, Bryce is recalling being held by mystery men, sort of the way you would be captured almost like by a cartel, where you're on your knees with your hands behind your head.
I just feel like with the kind of things I was dealing with at this age group, this is not what I was dealing with, and I felt like what I was going through when I was in my early 20s was like hard enough. And
Was
then you think
as
about this-
dramatic as this.
Yes, and then you think about this and like, I guess it wasn't that difficult. Like I was never, captured in this capacity. So I guess, I got through with flying colors.
I don't think you were pursuing the same things as Bryce and Danica in college, however. Because it seems
No.
like we don't know fully what happens, but it seems like they were trying to attempt some sort of major thing. And it didn't go well.
Yeah, my projects were much smaller and more about podcasting.
In college?
Well, not in college, but at least came. That was more sketch time period.
Yeah.
But in my early 20s, I wasn't in college because I graduated college at 20. So in my early 20s, that was more of my time period to.
You more made
really...
sketches about being caught by a cartel.
Yeah. We made yucks instead.
So the way that they're being placed, it's a submissive position, and it usually means death is coming. Both she and Danica are bleeding, and Danica seems to think that this is the end for both of them, in that somehow it's her own fault. I love you, Bryce.
Tears rolled down Danica's face.
And I'm sorry. Bryce recalls it being the first time Danica has ever said those words. Why or how they got here is unclear right now, but while Danica seems resigned to their fate, Bryce only says, "Close your eyes, Danica." This could be perceived as a friend telling a friend to be at peace with their last moment. But that's not what happened. They both survived somehow. And we don't know yet, but I love this storytelling device, this recall of like a memory that gets unspooled.
Yeah, and like little fragments of memory. Oh, I love it.
Because it does keep, at least me, really engaged, being like, what happened?
Yes.
Tell me.
Continue the memory.
Then we're with Hunt's thoughts, who has left Bryce be as much as he's allowed, which is to say he's in the sky, sort of following her from afar.
He's brooding the way we wish to brood.
He's mulling over how screwed he's going to be for revealing Micah's naughty little secret, and wonders if Bryce is going to immediately tell everyone. So in this moment, he's mostly worried that he is going to be fucked.
Yeah, that he just fucked up.
He's got other worries, too. The young Fae who was murdered yesterday, the one that he had interacted with, actually, outside of Luna's statue and her temple, he doesn't think it's a coincidence that they were there that night talking about the horn, and the next day there was a murder right there.
Yeah. Where the cameras don't see.
Yeah.
Think about that.
I have.
I bet you have.
He feels regret about his treatment of Bryce and of forcing her to go to the murder scene, because he didn't think... I don't think he deals with a lot of like deep conflicted emotions with like, interpersonal relationships a lot.
Right.
So I think he probably was just being very business only and realizing, oh no, this is like a traumatized young woman.
Well, he doesn't really have the brain space yet for like friendship at this point. It's like up until now, he really didn't have the emotional bandwidth for friends.
Yeah, it wasn't like he was taking her there to be sadistic. It was more just like, this is what we do. We look at bodies.
Yeah, we need to talk about this. You need to see what happened. And I think it was more in his brain rational when it comes to the work of it.
Yeah, I'm being a Hunt apologist.
Oh, forever. I will forever apologize. I will deny. I will do anything for my big old beast man made out of lightning.
So then we're
wait till the lightning starts. Oh God, when he's like
you can't reveal. But there will be some stuff. Let's call it grease lightning, if you will. So he is also thinking of Shahar, wishing that she was there with him to help guide him.
Obviously, look at this beacon. I'd be like, I follow you, bitch, into the dark. And he did, because he was captured.
Yeah, but she'd also be like, are you looking at this other girl? What the fuck, bro?
Yeah, dude. I thought we were forever. But you can't be if
no,
you're immortal,
I can't
you
even
can't be
talk about.
forever.
I can't handle what happens in the third book.
Stop!
I can't handle it. So while following Bryce from his sky position, he thinks about what he'll say as a form of an apology to her, only mildly pathetically checking his phone repeatedly to see if she messages him.
It's cute.
Because he feels
bad.
regret.
Yes.
Yeah. But then she takes a surprising turn into the White Raven. Hunt lands and tries to barge in after her, which does not work if you've never walked into a club before, Hunt.
Even though you're sexy, you are scary enough to be stopped at the door.
Yeah, especially because this is the hottest club in town and there's a line around the corner.
Cha, you think you can just get right in? Don't think so.
He gets into a brief argument with the door guy, but then the butterfly shifter owner apparently greenlights him to bypass the long line. So there's a message from inside saying he's in. And he gets to bypass the long line waiting outside. Hunt himself isn't psyched to go into this den of iniquity. It reminds him too much of Sandriel's feasts and orgies that are only reserved for the rich in Pangira.
And here, don't get me wrong, Sandriel's real bad. But I would love to attend one of these feast and orgy parties for the rich if I could be invited.
I think the main issue for Hunt is that the people outside of those parties are literally like dying,
Starving and dying. Yeah.
And they're just like, they're like reveling in the suffering.
What, does he have a problem with that?
I guess so. I guess he's like he's got
Fine,
he's got like ethics.
Fine, I'll be fine with it. Yeah, I guess it's bad to watch the rich just do all that, let them eat cake or whatever.
Regardless, he spots Bryce and strides towards her to her chagrin. So he makes a beeline for her as soon as he walks in, and she's not surprised to see him, but it's sort of, there he is.
There he is.
We learn that Juniper is here, actually.
It's me, and I'm hooving about the town.
As a reader, that may surprise us because we know a little bit about what's going on with Bryce's personal relationships, but Hunt's not privy at all to this or any of her personal dramas. So he just sees Juniper, while us as the readers like, oh my God, Juniper.
Just this sexy ass bitch.
He does. He mentions that she is very, very sexy. And she's a fawn who has curly hair and tiny curling horns and is considered incredibly beautiful, dressed casually sexy in a mini skirt and tank top.
I'm just casually sexy, but I also happen to be a fawn.
Fawn. As we've sort of already discussed, fawns and satyrs aren't the same thing in this world or in Earth's mythology, but they are both human-animal hybrids. So you even wrote it in here.
What? It's like you were thinking about me, even though you didn't know I was going to hoove about the town, although I look really cute drinking my Waterloo sparkling water with my hooves.
You honestly
I'm just saying.
You do look very cute.
Thank you.
Bryce, who appears to be drinking a clear liquor out of a glass, is displeased that he's here and tries to get him to leave, but he's not having it. Instead, he barges in on girls' night and sort of ingratiates himself to Juniper. And the two of them order a bunch of food. So Juniper and Hunt immediately are sort of like, she's not fighting him. She's got like, you want food? He's like, yeah, I'll eat some food.
She's just kind of nice to him, which Bryce, of course, is like,
no. But this is also like a marked difference too. We're starting to see Hunt's more not human angel side.
Yes, his like societal side.
Yeah, like it's hard because every word is connected to being a human.
Being a man. It's almost as if they try to keep us in a box with our dictionary.
Oh no!
Yeah,
Get
we all have to be human, interesting.
I like to be outside the box with my words.
Yeah. Well, very difficult when you do a podcast.
Figure it out. What did I just say?
I don't know. Well, it is very unique and very beautiful. And very
Thank
you, Natalie. I don't know if it would do well as for you being a host of a podcast.
Oh, you saying the numbers are going to be affected?
I'm sorry. I'm putting you in a box right now. I'm founing you.
I feel like I am Aelin. If you know, you know.
Don't.
So Juniper and Hunt sort of have like an easygoing back and forth, and Bryce says she doesn't want any food. She's very irritated. But Hunt begins to goad her into eating since she is slamming that liquor down so quickly. Besides that, he's pretty sure she didn't eat breakfast, even though he was, quote, distracted by her wearing only a hot pink bra and panties.
Ooh, Bryce.
Taking it upon himself to order Bryce food. And by the way, Stalker over here knows what she wants because he's been able to smell her lunches on the other days.
But that's like a
cute way
get
obsessed much?
It. I think it's cute. But also it's like his job right now is to watch her.
I'm saying it in a flirty way, but like he is being like a stalker right now.
Like, you know what I like for the lunch? You're crazy.
Also him just being like, oh, I know she didn't have breakfast. Not that I'm like paying attention or anything, but
yeah, I wouldn't know, but
I'm so mad. I hate that she just walks around in her underwear. I hate it.
Oh, I will say I think that my husband does do this a lot, but he just knows that if I get too hungry, then the beast arrives. So I think that he always just usually like, you should probably eat anytime I'm about to eat, or I'm thinking maybe I should. He's like, yeah,
You're about to
Usually-
fawn out.
Yeah, oh yeah, man. I won't be hooving about the town then. I'm gonna be gnashing about the town.
Right. So he does this thing of ordering food for her, and she's like, I don't want food. And she goes to drink more of her drink, and he tries to snatch it out of her hand, basically to smell what she's been drinking, which, of course, is water.
It's water, Hunt. If you had just asked a question rather than assuming ass out of you and you.
Yes, exactly. And we know she's not drinking anymore. But also, Bryce is actually very thrilled at the chance to be morally superior to him in this moment.
Yes, she is. Because she could have said at any of these points when he is inferred that she is a party girl, she could have said, like, I haven't drank. I haven't been drinking.
Right.
And you didn't even bother to ask. I like that she was waiting almost for a moment to be like, interesting what you assume, huh?
Yeah, she's sort of baiting this. a
Oh,
little bit.
yeah.
So it's also when we learn Juniper was the one who asked Bryce to join her. So she ended up jogging to the White Raven because Juniper reached out to her, which is good, I
Oh, my
think.
God. When somebody reaches out their hand, you gotta go grab it.
Oh my God, she reached out her
Oh,
hand.
my God. I'm the best. Hooving about the town.
She snaps at him that he should have figured out why she doesn't drink, because he asks, why aren't you drinking? And she's like, maybe as the Umbra Mortis, you should have figured that out, but maybe not because you think I killed my best friend, asshole.
Mhm. Think about that.
And he's sort of going like, ouch, that's rough.
Yeah. But again, I will say of course he's going to make a lot of blunders because he's not usually thinking about the human side of emotions of anything.
Right.
And so it's like, I feel like this really is the first time he's ever even allowed to have the space to think about actual emotions, right?
Yeah. But I also understand that this must be really particularly painful to Bryce, who was just beginning to come to trust Hunt a little
Right.
bit and actually have somebody to talk to about all of this. And then he turns around and tells her that he thinks what all the other people think, that this is somehow her fault.
Yes.
So that also, I understand her anger.
Yeah.
towards it.
Oh, yeah.
Hunt watches Bryce.
I'm just a Hunt apologist. I'm forever.
Oh, I get it. I'm with you.
But.
Hunt watches Bryce get up and storm to the bathroom, June following her, and hears a guy's voice behind him. And the guy's voice is gloating that he's not the one that's in trouble for once.
Ugh.
It's Rune.
Ugh.
Rune's appeared.
Prince of the Ball Baron Faye.
Rune informs Hunt that the butterfly shifter had also reached out to him, that Bryce seemed upset, and Rune also wanted to make sure that she was okay after almost fainting at the crime scene, because if you'll recall, Rune was also there.
Right. But also it's cute that I'm glad that she does go back to the White Raven, because it is like their cheers. And like when you're really upset and you go to your cheers, of course, everybody's going to yell your name when you walk in the door. And they're all going to go, Natalie! Natalie! And you go, yeah, I like to be with.
Why are you all
everybody
talking to
knows
me?
my
This is scary.
name." It's just nice that the butterfly shifter was looking out.
Yeah, it seems like he is looking out for her all the time. And also, Hunt and Rune are looking out for her almost to the point where I get why she feels smothered and everything, but they are being generally thoughtful to her in this moment. But she's just like, leave me alone. And they both watch the two ladies. June is trying to calm Bryce from across the room. And Rune mentions that Bryce used to dance like Juniper. But she stopped after Danica died. So it's just Rune and Hunt looking across the room at these two ladies, just like trying to, like, she's basically, Bryce is like trying to calm herself down. She's pissed.
Yeah.
And Hunt didn't know that she used to be a ballet dancer. And he chews on this information.
There's a lot you don't know about her, Hunt.
Yeah. He's going, oh, okay, she's not drinking. She had a passion that she really followed, but she lets the world believe she's this vapid party princess. Herm, he thunk.
Bryce. Herm. I just imagined him aloud. Herm. And it's like, that's not the sound that the Umbra Mortis makes. Anyway, Herm. Bryce looked toward the booth, and when she saw her cousin there were trenches of hell warmer than the look she gave Rune.
Juniper tracked her gaze. Bryce took all of one step toward the booth before the club exploded.
Oh no.
What? I didn't
No, I
see
didn't
this
see
coming.
that
This is
coming.
such an insane shock.
At the start of chapter 26, we're back with Bryce, and she is reeling from the shock of what just occurred. I can say I'm extremely lucky. I don't know what experiencing a bomb feels like.
No, me neither.
It's 1 second to the next day and night, and that's what's just occurred. Somebody has bombed the club that they're inside of, and it's, of course, complete and utter chaos.
Yeah.
All Bryce can feel is her reaching to shelter Juniper, and then just a cacophony.
That shrill ringing wouldn't stop. It drowned out every other sound. Coppery slickness in her mouth. Blood. Plaster coated her skin.
She hears Hunt screaming at her to get up, but her terror and dread overrides his command. The thought that Juniper had also been killed in this moment has paralyzed her.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
She has to go through a lot.
Whew.
She sees Rune lifting Juniper up, and as Bryce prepares to see the worst, Juniper punches her in the face. She screams at Bryce for trying to protect her from this attack when June has already made the drop and Bryce hasn't.
You've got to protect yourself.
Which is really brutal.
You have to, it's a reaction, you know,
Sure.
It's a lot.
It comes from the idea, because Juniper is also traumatized, right?
Yeah.
So her reaction is because she knows that Bryce is much more likely to be killed in that moment. And so her saying, don't fucking do that, you're an idiot. Like, stop trying to be a hero when I should be
take care of myself.
protecting you
Yes.
in this moment. From far away, Bryce hears them all arguing, but she can't think, can't move. Cut to Hunt's thoughts a short while later. They're at Rune's house, which is nearby, and Hunt is in no condition to fight about having to go into his enemy's home. This is his first time inside of the frat house, and he's taking it all in, including the giant painting of a fae swallowing an angel whole on the beer pong table. Something that we as the reader saw when Bryce first showed up at the house while Rune was super faded, if you'll remember.
But also fun for him, not fun, but like for him to see that in his perspective of what that is and what that means.
Obviously a big fuck you to angels,
Yes.
right?
But it's also like, I feel like in my brain though, and maybe I'm a Rune apologist right now, I feel like it's one of those things that, remember how much art, and I'm sure you went through this phase, all the art that used to be in my house when I was young and dumb and drunk was just shit I would find on the street that I would bring home when I was drunk.
Can't do that in New York bedbugs.
Yeah, but at the time I didn't A, think about that, or B, care.
Right.
And I would just bring everything that I would find on my walk from the bar home. I would just drag it with me. And so in my brain, I feel like, oh, Rune or one of the other frat dudes needed to make a beer pong table or like needed to have something, you know, it's like, they were like, I found it. Is this fucking crazy? I don't know where it came from. Oh, put it up in the house. Like, I feel like it's one of those.
I think, well, I could see that happening, but I also think that
They don't like angels.
Yeah.
I do know they don't like angels.
I think it was pointed. I think that because they do directly often feud with angels.
And they dislike
also,
angels.
Hunt did have a problem with archangels too, so I don't think it's like that far-fetched for him to also understand.
It's just like, I feel like in my brain, Rune knows it's not all angels.
Not all angels.
Hashtag not all angels, all right? You're probably right. I'm sure it's pointed, and I'm sure that I'm just an apologist.
No, he's allowed. He's had a lot of bad run-ins. A lot of angels are really shitty.
No, but not all of them.
But he and Hunt have had fisticuffs.
I know, yeah. And Hunt's a scary man. He's supposed to be a scary man. I'm sorry. Scary angel.
Yeah. Thank you. So they're all obviously in really bad shape in this moment, but Hunt is currently better off than Bryce, and he moves around the house gathering water and medical supplies. He laments over how, in the right circumstances, his lightning can prevent a bomb from doing damage, but that there wasn't any space or time for it this night.
Whoa, I know that, like, let me have my own brain visions, but I've always wanted to secretly be in a car that gets hit by lightning because apparently when you're in a car that gets hit by lightning, you can see the lightning like skitter over the outside of the car and then go into the wheels and then go into the ground because of the
Yeah.
conductor system or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like he would send out like a big web of lightning
Yeah.
around the entire building. And so I just think about that. I'm like, man, I bet that
Oh,
would be really cool.
interesting, because in my mind, I was seeing his lightning connect with the bomb while it's like in the air and
Oh, to like
stopping
stop it that way. Oh, that probably makes more sense. I just like, I don't know. There's something about the lightning and ooh.
Oh, I know. I know, Jackie.
I also like weather. You know I'm a weather bitch.
I know you are. He pushes aside the need to immediately solve who planted the bomb there that night because there are more pressing needs. Bryce seems to be in shock.
But also, I feel like that's really big too, because I feel like even Hunt from a couple of weeks ago would be like, we need to figure out who just, but then you notice that he wants to attend to Bryce, who is in shock.
Yes, and this is the most gentle that we've seen.
Oh yeah,
him
you
so
wrote it
far.
right. Yeah, it is. I love it.
This could be in part due to his guilt over forcing her to view the crime scene earlier, or maybe he's just trying to coax her out of shock. Regardless, he gets on his knees in front of her and begins wiping off the blood and plaster that covers the nearly catatonic Bryce, almost a mirror of what occurred the night of the murders. As he wipes her ears and checks for serious wounds, Bryce finally speaks. She explains in a daze through a scratchy voice that Juniper is up for principal dancer in her ballet company, and she doesn't want her to risk an injury. The part she doesn't say is that she doesn't seem to care about herself to take her own body into consideration.
No.
He begins to tend to
But
it.
after what happened with Danica, like, how could you? Wouldn't you always want to then go to protect your friends because you could never get over the guilt of not protecting them, even though she couldn't have stopped it? But like, right?
Well, yeah, for sure that, but it also definitely feels nihilistic, like I don't care what
Yeah.
happens to me. He begins to tend to a gnarly gash on her knee, and the solution he pours on it causes her to jerk because it hurts her, and it raises her skirt.
Hunt told himself he looked only to assess if there were other injuries, but the thick, angry scar cut across an otherwise sleek, unnervingly perfect thigh.
He's getting horny in the middle of this? Come on.
You know, but it's also like horny because he's realizing she's so much more. She's the sum of all of the parts.
Oh, he's getting horny for her mind.
Horny for her mind, horny for her mind. But he does throw it in there, the seemingly unnervingly perfect thigh.
Yeah. But he is mostly looking at the big scar because he instantly realizes this is the wound that he stapled together from the night of the Crystallos, and that she has not received treatment for it. In this world, in Midgard, she could have gotten that poison-filled massive scar healed, but she hasn't for some reason. And what he mistook for her stupid shoes always causing her pain was likely more so from this poorly healed wound.
Especially because, like, again, as a dancer, I know what you can withstand with your feet. I feel like the heels would never probably be a problem because y'all broke all your feet for dancing fun.
Yeah, no, it's so true. But, eventually heels can bother anyone.
Yeah, that's true. But I watch what you wear, and I'm just like, how do I be a lady like that?
I could teach you to walk in heels.
I don't know. I think I might be old dog. I think I'm old dog in new tricks. I don't think it works.
Oh, yeah, you could.
Whoa, what if all of a sudden I became a heels bitch? I don't know if I've ever worn a pair of heels for more than 10 minutes.
You would look great. You'd be
Oh,
super
yeah,
cute.
I know it looks good. I remember I had a stylist be like, you have to wear heels while walking down the aisle because it's how you hold yourself in the dress. It makes you seem, it makes you stand out in the way that you hold yourself. And it's like, I got through the ceremony and then they had to come off. I was like, I'm done.
I mean, I
can't
didn't
do
wear
this.
heels because I'm so much taller than Henry.
You guys are so
But-
cute.
Um,
Oh yeah, you had those cool like thigh-high Converse sneakers,
I
didn't you?
went full 2009. I wore knee-high white Converse.
Dude, they
shoes.
were awesome. They were awesome. And yeah, they looked a lot cooler than the Nike slides I put on for the rest
No,
of
it was
my wedding day.
cute. No, it was good.
You know, I'm a comfort shoe kind of gal.
You're allowed.
Thank you. Thank you.
So he's looking at this scar and he's thinking to himself, it's his fault. He's blaming himself for being so aggressive and thoughtless when he stapled her clothes like she was a soldier.
He was just trying to get it, like, so that she didn't die.
Right. And I don't blame him, but I understand why he sees something that like this. I feel like that would be traumatizing, like to see a big severe wound that you caused and just be like, oh my God, I did that to that person.
Right. Even though he didn't, but he did do whatever like that helped it to heal poorly.
He was looking at her as like
A soldier.
a patient or a soldier and
Yeah.
not as a person who was in need of care, essentially. Like, I have to keep you alive.
Yes. And honestly, I mean, like, if someone stopped me from dying and, I wish you had done it better, like, you know that Bryce doesn't feel that way.
I wish you had done it better.
You know, it's like, you know that anyone that is saved from a situation like that isn't thinking that. So, of course, he has to feel that because I'm sure if any thought of Bryce would have about that, she'd probably push away in her brain.
Yeah. When males are kneeling between my legs, Athalar,
She said.
they're not usually grimacing.
Ah, Bryce, you sexy bitch.
He realizes that he's been lost in thought, kneeling between her legs and leaning in to look at the scar on her high upper thigh. The Umbra Mortis actually blushes as he backs away because he is just staring at her crotch.
I would melt if I could make the Umbra Mortis blush. Oh, are you kidding me?
It seems, though, to have shaken Bryce from her fugue, but there won't be any more flirtation on this night. She asks who he thinks did this, and he honestly doesn't know. But he doesn't think it has something to do directly with their case. They sit with the knowledge that there is a war raging in other parts of the world and wonders if it will come to Lunathian as well. Noticing Bryce is still not doing well, he puts his jacket over her shoulders. Okay, hon, I see you.
He's making sure that she feels protected, Natalie.
Rune enters the room and informs them that upon first analysis, it seems as though human rebels smuggled a bomb through a liquor delivery, or a wine delivery to be specific. Rune also informs them that the crate they determined was the culprit was branded with something in the surveillance footage. It's hard to make out in the video, but he thinks it might be a stamp of a horn. So this may very well be a warning sign to them and have something to do with them. Great.
Very interesting.
So Hunt decides that they need to talk to Briggs in prison to find out if he had something to do with it and calls Isaiah. He leaves to make this phone call and Rune...
God, I wonder if her hooves sweat as much as my hooves are currently sweating, because these are some sweaty hooves over here.
I think because the hooves are attached to the bone, can't sweat.
Oh, you can't sweat. Man, I wish, you know what? I think I need to go see a doctor.
Ew, imagine
and have these
thinking about...
attached.
Can you imagine feeling sweat under your flesh?
Your hooves. And I mean,
Ew.
I'm experiencing right now, and yes, I'm sorry for everyone. I did have to take off my hooves for a little bit, but that is because they are starting to become actually wet to the touch.
Body horror much?
Yeah,
Took
I
her
guess
hands
I am
off.
the substance. Sorry, I'm the demi.
You're the demi now, dog.
Goodbye.
So
I love that we have fused both of those in our brain, because the thing is that you think that, like, oh, you guys don't say that all the time in your regular life, but we do.
sadly and unfortunately for us. So as Hunt leaves to make this call, Rune and Bryce are left alone, and there is more bad news. The Autumn King has discovered that he and Bryce are working in tandem on the Horn and the Demon. So the Autumn King didn't know about Rune and Bryce teaming up, but now he does. And he's
Get
super pissed.
over yourself.
He can't. He literally can.
Because you know he loved when they didn't like each other. He likes it better when there's discord and like upset. I feel like there are also just some, daddy figures, mommy figures that do that to kids to turn them against them so that they, like it's instilling dissent in the family.
Yes. But he is he's now learned and he's pissed, so he has deemed it necessary to have Bryce watched 24/7 because she is a liability to him and she's a weak little baby human and he has to save face since she has become a part of his house. Bryce, feeling the usual disgust for her father, thinks about the small scar that he had left on her mother Ember's face back in the day. One of the things that
being, you piece of shit.
You know, it's one of the things that caused Ember to flee while pregnant with Bryce.
Good for you, girl.
So this is us learning that the Autumn King was physically abusive to Ember.
We hate the Autumn King.
As if we didn't already.
Yeah.
Man, do I want to get a flashback. I know I've already said this.
I think we're going to get it at some point. I think we're going to get it.
So many questions about how they ended up together.
I think we're going to get it at some point. There's no way, right? Right?
We have to. Anyway, Rune tells Bryce that he volunteered to be her live-in bodyguard.
Oh my God, another one.
And she says, oh, hell to the no. Absolutely not.
Nope.
Rune warns her to pick her battles with their dad, and this is not worth the headache that would follow. She realizes he's probably correct, and she's still quite in a daze, so she says, fine. He wants a bodyguard? Well, Hunt can come live in my house.
There
and
you
can
go.
Stay with me.
There you go. Big old thick bodyguard living in that living room. Okay.
Uh-huh. How convenient. So then we're with Rune's thoughts immediately following Bryce's proclamation. He is worried that Hunt is beginning to pick up on the fact that it's weird that the Autumn King is so focused on this random third cousin or whatever.
And I feel like for all the things that Hunt knows so quickly that it is a little, I feel like one of those things that maybe he just hasn't thought about that fully. Because
maybe.
He is very smart and also...
They're not hiding it super well. But maybe he's just not even thinking about it.
Right.
As Bryce peppers him with questions, Rune checks his texts from Tristan and Declan, who are frantically trying to get information on what happened at the White Raven that night. Right at the same time that Bryce is demanding to know why Rune was there at the club in the first place.
Whoa.
He doesn't want to reveal he was checking up on her, so he says he was looking for her to ask to look through the antique shops and underground library. Bryce is like, what underground library are you talking about?
I don't know nothing.
What? And he's just said, just stop. I know it's there, okay? Bryce balks, but then after a moment of thinking, she smirks and she says, yeah, sure, you can come into the library, but in exchange for that, you're going to give me Declan to help me with my cause.
Oh, Cyberboy.
Yeah, because of course he's the hacker of their little cyberpunk outfit.
Hell yeah, you've got to have one. It's like all of those, like the CSI shows where you always have to have the one, quirky, mid-size technological girl.
The Matthew Lillard, or wait, who was it in... What's the one with Angelina Jolie? Is it Hackers?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I don't remember anything about that movie, though.
I guess they're all sort of hackers.
Right? Isn't it about all of them?
I don't know. I only know that, flashes of images of the outfits.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Oh, yes.
Rune agrees to this. And with that, Bryce and Hunt exit the house. Bryce desperately wanting to return to her own dwellings. As though Autumn King's watching.
Get out of my life.
Yeah, I don't know what he's on, but as soon as they walk out, Autumn King calls Rune and berates him for involving Bryce and Hunt in their fae business. In their their phaseness? Their phase.
Company.
He tells Rune he better not let angels get their hands on the horn or else.
Oh,
Because
it's the worst, too. Because, he wants to make Daddy happy, but it's like, God, I would hate to make Daddy happy.
But almost like he doesn't have an option to make Daddy happy.
No, he doesn't have an option, but I also feel like there's always,
no matter
what relationship you have with your parent, sometimes I feel like the more distant and
maybe now he'll be proud of me.
Yeah, that whether you think that way or not, that it is kind of a part of what what you focus on. You know what I mean?
Oh, maybe Daddy will love me.
Daddy love me now. I don't think it's gonna.
Nah. In fact, his father mocks and threatens him
Awesome.
instead. Yeah. As that's happening, Rune's thoughts drift to the oracle's prophecy that he received and the lie that he told his father that day.
Whoa.
We learn through these thoughts that the oracle's premonitions used to dictate entire kingdoms and wage unions. But in more current times, it became slightly more novelty than anything else.
I feel like now it's like going to like go get your cards read by somebody.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. But Rune lied back then when he turned 13 and received that oracle's prophecy because he knew his dad wouldn't see it as a fun little, you got a fortune?
I
And-
do wonder too that like, do you think he would have killed him if he knew that the line ended with him? Like if he thought that he wasn't worth anything and that he wasn't going to provide him anything.
I think at
wonder
the
if he would've
very
killed
least
him.
he would have abandoned him in some way or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Or, like kicked him out of the family
Yeah.
in some capacity.
So at that time, as a kid too, he was only 13. He couldn't bear the disappointment that he knew he would face from his father because certainly at that age he's trying to.
Oh
to
my
please
God,
his
yeah.
dad.
When you're in the house and you can't get away from him.
Chapter 27 is Hunt watching Bryce as they walk home through the chaotic streets filled with sirens and confusion in the wake of the attack. And he notices that she is once again barefoot. And this is so many parallels to their first night together because if you recall, she also didn't have shoes on when she was chasing the Crystallis.
Yeah, dude.
But this time, instead of it being this cold interaction, they're getting up close and personal. Hunt's moving in, baby!
You got a new roomie.
Before long, they are at the luxury apartment building, and she leads him up past the doorman. As they reach her front door, he asks her why she hasn't made the drop, and she reveals to him about her plan with Danica, and that they had planned to do it from 2 years from now, which makes her 25 in this part of the book, if you're keeping track. He thinks about how her scar is a form of punishment for this perceived failure of letting Danica die, quote unquote, and that he can commiserate in that sort of self-punishment.
Oh.
Though he doesn't say this out loud, he's just thinking it. She continues.
Wait, do we know about the shower yet?
Yes.
Okay, yes. All right, we do.
She continues that Connor and Thorne were going to anchor them and that her and Danica were going to go down the drop together, which to me in my mind, I thought when they were going to do it together that they were going to anchor each other. That's how I imagined it. But actually what they were going to do was take the plunge at the same time and have their friends anchor for them.
So that they could go through it together and then come back up together.
Yeah. As they make their way into the apartment, he gets his first real look at it from not outside a window.
Either she or Danica had decorated it without sparing any expense. A white, deep-cushioned couch lay in the right third of the great room, set before a reclaimed wood coffee table and the massive television atop a carved oak console. A fogged glass dining table with white leather chairs took up the left third of the space, and the center third of it went to the kitchen. White cabinets, chrome appliances, and white marble counters. All of it impeccably clean, soft, and welcoming.
I always find visual descriptions of spaces help me read the story.
Very much
more.
so. And I think that I don't know why at first I was so taken aback of I feel like Bryce would not have an all white apartment. Like that is just not how I see her.
Yeah.
But the fact that it is set up for her by Danica, like that it was gifted to her by Danica, in my brain, it makes more sense that it's I don't think Bryce would have specifically done that.
I can see that. And I can also see the trying to make this
Or it's
drastic.
just as nothing as possible, where there's no like version of her or no part of her that's a part of the apartment. You know what I mean? Like where she's separate.
For me, I saw it as she is trying to become everything that she wasn't in the time with her and her friends.
Ouch.
So to me, I feel as though, yeah, maybe a little bit more of the second thing you said in my mind, but it's like
Where she's nothing.
She's trying to to me, it's more like she is trying to recreate herself from the ground up. So that she lived in this loud, brash, colorful, dingy, punk rock apartment. She's trying to go to the other end of the spectrum to be as far away from that version of herself as possible.
I think you're completely right. And as you were saying it, I realize it further and further that it's like, is that not what you do after a lot of traumas in your life? Of like, what if everything I was led me to what happened? And what if I just completely got rid of that version of me?
Although I will say, when I'm at my lowest, cleanliness and sobriety are not usually how I would be defined.
But again, maybe if you're trying to be the complete opposite, maybe you would be. If I came in and you had just suffered a trauma and the house was sparkling and everything was I'd be like, Natalie needs to be carted away.
What are you saying?
We need
What
to
are you
get.
trying to say?
I'm just saying that we both live a life that is very busy.
Yes.
And that,
Stuff is a lot of places a lot of the time.
we are not dirty people at
No.
all, but we both have a lot of stuff. I
Yeah.
always have stuff everywhere.
Well, also we're wearing costumes. And my house, I
Covered
and
in
my husband
costumes.
have to dress in costumes constantly, and so we wear like 6 outfits a day sometimes.
Oh yeah.
And so that ends up being quite a tornado of clothes.
It certainly does, especially like for me, I have a closet. Jeff has a closet, but my closet is also my costume closet. So now I'm getting to a point I'm like, I literally can never get more real clothes.
No,
because
you
I
have
need
to
more
wear
space for
only
costumes.
costumes in your day-to-day life.
So if I start dressing like if you see me with my hooves on in public, know why.
The hooves. I feel like you don't have to wear hooves in public.
Why? I think it's kind of
but-
fun. And then, I feel like then it's like I'm going through my glove. Like maybe they're my driving gloves. And I'm going through my driving glove phase.
I don't know if that's super safe.
No, it's difficult to grip.
Your driving gloves are making driving a lot harder.
I wish I could access all of my fingers.
If only.
I put him back on. Don't worry, guys. The hooves
You
are
really-
back.
You are actually a shifter during this episode.
Yeah. See, I'm really, well, I guess I'm not in character because I'm not being a found, I'm being a shifter, but,
As she tells him this information about herself, about what she was going to do with Danica, he thinks about how sad his own drop was. We don't know the full deets, but he recalls how his mom had just died and his anger had been a, quote, sour-faced government employee. And that's rough.
Yeah.
As Syrinx bounds through the room.
Yeah, imagine having to go through that, but with like someone at the DMV where they're like, all right, make the draw, get down there. I got all the fucking things. I got a whole line of people down here. And it's like,
I
but
just imagine like going through a hospital procedure with like all strangers. You know what I mean? Like that's what it makes me think of. As Syrinx bounds through the room and attacks Hunt with puppy kisses, Hunt considers how close his own grief is to how Bryce is feeling. And how, because her grief for Danica feels like his grief for Shahar, he asks if she and Danica were perhaps lovers. And methinks maybe he's trying to gauge it for other reasons, but maybe I'm crazy.
You can't think he's just asking, it is a very intense friendship. And I think the more that we're talking about Hunt and his relationships with other people, that like he doesn't understand how, I think yet, how you could love someone so fiercely and not be their lover. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and also not to stereotype girls and women, but I think sometimes their emotional, like their young best friend relationships can almost feel like lovers. In certain ways, you become very intense and like attached to one another in that way.
Why I was scared of women for so long. So it's like, what? I don't want to be vulnerable. You want to get to know me? Fuck off. Let's just get hammered. Which is apparently not how you make friends.
I mean, that's definitely how you make friends.
I mean, it's why I've got, some good ones still, but,
I've created a lot more vulnerable relationships since.
Sure. Sometimes when you get older or younger, it's like the 20s is when not like the most drunk friendships happen. I feel like as a kid and as a grown adult, older woman, you become more again having sober friendships.
Yes, yeah, it's nice.
It's nice.
Yeah, we go out and get coffee. And we still cry.
Oh, sure. As she feeds Syrinx, she flatly tells him that her and Danica weren't in that sort of relationship, but that in fact she and another person who was murdered that night, Connor, were something she's probably not really sure of, but she's alluding to that it was of the romantic stripe.
Notion, yeah.
Part of him desperately wants to tell her he understands, to tell her about him and what he's gone through, but he can't seem to get the words out. Before he has to ponder it too long, the phone rings in the apartment and he listens to Bryce's end of a conversation with her mom, one in which she fakes a happy disposition and lies to her mother about whether she was there at the bombing. No, neither her nor Juniper were there, Mom. Don't worry. Bryce then has to bat away a dozen questions when Bryce reveals to her mom that she has to go due to her having company in the apartment. So her mom's going like, who? Is it who?
Yeah.
What is
what's
it?
happening?
Who's this
What's
guy?
happening over here?
And she's like, nothing. Nothing's fine. Don't worry about it. I gotta go. He watches her and thinks about how she keeps everyone away from her at arm's length. Lies to mom, lets Juniper punch her in the face instead of explain why she did that in the first place.
Yeah.
Maybe they're both just like the other. Huh. She tells him, pleads with him to help her solve this case. Not for Micah, but because not solving it is killing her. She doesn't believe him when he assures her that he will solve it. So he decides to let her in on some of his own private agony. He tells her about the deal Micah has offered. He feels shame at himself to even mention that he was tasked with killing 2,000 people in the first place.
He waited for her judgment, her disgust with him and Micah. But she angled her head.
That's why you've been a bullish pain in the ass. She isn't horrified. Just like she didn't cower when he looked at her that first time. This seems to affect him?
He couldn't help it then. Even though she was bloodied and covered in debris, he looked her over, every inch and curve. Tried not to think about the hot pink underwear beneath that tight green dress.
Whoa, Hunt, there's a crisis.
Yeah,
Keep it in your
man.
pants.
You know, but sometimes when there is a crisis, you do like immediately think about things that you do have control over.
Oh,
and I feel like that's
absolutely.
why those thoughts come in
Oh,
of like,
yeah.
oh, all this big shit is happening, but also, what about the hot pink underwear?
Yeah. Actually, don't keep it in your pants.
Yeah,
Never.
yeah.
He apologizes for thinking less of her and for being an asshole. There's nothing wrong with being a party girl. I don't get why the world thinks that there is.
But she considered his words.
It's easier for me when people assume the worst about what I am. It lets me see who they really are. She tells him he's not an asshole. Which, woo, gave him butterflies in his tummy over that.
Man, doesn't take it much, huh? It's just like,
It's like-
yeah, it's like, oh, you're just not like the worst thing
He's
I've
like,
ever
"Me?
met.
Whoa.
But that also goes to show how little he thinks of himself and like what he thinks about like everything that has gotten him to the place that he's in, that he probably, doesn't really like himself all that much.
I would say it's a positive sign that he doesn't like that he has to murder a bunch of people.
Yes.
He gets the two of them fast food, which they both eat in exhausted silence before Bryce retires to her room and Hunt goes to investigate the guest room where he'll now be residing. So he actually went and procured food for the both of them, which is very cute.
Cute.
Though he notes that the bed was big enough to accommodate a veneer when he walks into the guest room, he can scent that humans have mostly stayed here. He eyes the framed photo of Bryce's mom and stepdad that he notices in the room.
That's a really good way to have nobody in your guest room ever fuck. I think I should have a huge picture of my mom and dad in the guest room. So she'd be like,
Just so you can think about it before you start defiling my space.
Oh, you don't want anybody?
No fucking in the house except for me. Actually, that's not true. I mean, have at. I say have at. But
Just don't let me know.
Yeah, I just don't
wanna
wanna hear it.
it.
Yeah,
I
I
just
just
don't
don't
want to
wanna
hear
hear
about it. I don't want to see any
Yeah.
mess.
I don't want it. Yeah, I don't want any lingering touches. Like you touch something and it's sticky. Like none of that. You know what I
Ew.
mean?
So he sees this photo of Bryce's mom and
I
stepdad.
like how loud your wings are. Your wings, just like it's difficult. All right, with a tail and wings, it's difficult to be quiet.
It's almost like we're causing more suffering for ourselves than we need to, but
No.
through his observations, we learn that Ember has some different features than Bryce, including black hair. So her mom is not the red-haired one. She got that all from the old Autumn King. But that Ember is a, quote, knockout
Hell
in
yeah.
Hunt's words. We also learn that Hunt knows who stepped up, that is. Her stepdad is. Randall Silago. He's stunned to see that the, quote, legendary war hero and sharpshooter is Bryce's dad. And he doesn't remember reading that in her file. So he knows Bryce's stepdad as like a war hero.
And a human war hero, which is crazy. The fact that he survived and was that known.
Right. And I don't think we've known through Bryce's vantage that that is what her stepfather really was.
No, we only know that Randall was good to her.
Right. His gaze lands on another framed photo in the bedroom.
It was a beautiful shot of two women. Girls, really. Sitting on some red rocks atop a desert mountain, their backs to the camera, shoulder to shoulder as they faced the scrub and sand far below. One was Bryce. He could tell from her sheet of red hair. The other was in a familiar leather jacket, the back painted with those words in the Republic's most ancient language. Through love, all is possible.
The other is Danica, of course. He sees that Bryce's body is bandaged and bruised under her t-shirt in the picture, and that there's the notorious sword sitting next to Danica, one that he knows quite well. Sabine had lost it when searching for the sword following Danica's death, as in she freaked out trying to find it.
Oh, that's Sabine for ya.
Right? But Hunt can't mull over this for too long. He's too exhausted and is laid out before long. So Hunt's moved in, everyone.
Uh-oh, roomies. Man, ugh. Thinking about roomies, I had a roomie I had a crush on once, and it was very difficult. Because they kept banging other people.
Yeah, I'm thinking of one I also did.
He broke me for a while. And then I think it was after that I was like, don't room with someone you have a crush on. That was something I learned from that experience.
Definitely not.
Because it only hurts you further. Unless they fall in love with you, which that's great. And I think it would work. But in my case, it didn't.
That's a lot because then you're already living together, which is intense.
And then you already jumped in.
How do you date somebody once you're already their roommate?
I guess you go back to your separate rooms. I mean, I've banged a roommate before, but I wouldn't say I had like an unrequited crush because we just would bang when we would get drunk, but then we would go back to our separate rooms.
And you didn't have ever an issue with it?
No.
No, that's good.
I was fine with those things. It was the other people that usually had a problem. But, every person is different.
Every person has their own set of genitals.
Thank you, Natalie.
I don't know.
Every person does have their own set of genitals, and I say God bless it.
Everyone's got their genitals have their own feelings.
Yes, they do. So go down and ask them first before you ask somebody on a date. Always ask the genitals first. Just bow right down. Go, excuse me, I need to ask them a question. Excuse me, and go knock, 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 knock. Anybody in there? Anybody in there? Wait for somebody to open up the zipper and see if somebody comes out so that you have somebody to talk to.
I think a window is less gross than a zipper. I don't know why.
You're gonna have a window in your pants all the time, Natalie? I think you're gonna get arrested. We gotta go.